Hey y'all, today we're going to be stacking the roof on this little log cabin here that I'm designing. And you might want to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to this video. Um, Today we're going to be putting the roof on in there, showing you my mistakes as on my drawing with a Sketchup 2017. If y'all have a cabin design that you would like somebody to draw up for you, hey, go ahead and contact me. I'll do it for you on here on a live stream or something. We'll figure it on out. But anyway, here, let's get to this on our drawing here. Now, I do want to point out that I'm just doing a narration on this. I already draw it on up, so sometimes what I'm saying is not going to match up to what you're seeing. And on top of that, I got to remember what I was doing as I was going along the way. Okay, this first part here is I got to draw a template for the size of the cabin there. And it's hard getting this on in there to the exact measurements with this little computer. And I ain't complaining about this little computer. It's doing me good. But it's not really designed for this type of work. But hey, I don't make no money with it anyway, so I'm not asking for anything better. But anyway, drawing up this template will give me a place for me to build or to draw out the components that are going to be used up in the roof system. Even though they're simple components, they're not difficult to draw. You do need a platform, and it's easier for me to separate the components and then draw them and stack them right on top of the building afterwards, and duplicate them as I need to duplicate them and make more and more and more to add them on there. You'll see that as we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and jump on out of this template here drawing part. We'll get to the next part. I want to cut this section here on out. Okay, we got that section cut on out. And I'm just going to illustrate here to you on the line that I'm drawing. Now I got to move that into place here, and it gets color coded. Now that line turns blue there. That's showing that the line goes straight up and down. The other line, the green line, is on the plane going straight to back, and the red line would show that I'm drawing left to right. And if it's a black line, it's somewhere in between. It's just in between those points. But that way, you can tell if you're either drawing perfectly level or drawing perfectly horizontal. So just thought I'd point that on out. And you see the red, blue, and green lines there for reference points with what I'm talking about. Now that is the plate line of what I was drawing for the template of the building. And so now I got to draw in where the posts are going to go. And in the meantime, I want to have a sip of my coffee. And hey, you might go ahead and buy one of my coffee cups. I tell you what, it makes my coffee taste so much better having it in the proper cup. That's good coffee. Now that is my temporary line. That's just like a tape measure line. It's a string line that's not permanent. And that's showing the center of the building. And here I'm going 3 inches off each way for the width of the post and drawing another template line, a string line, as you will. So I'll know exactly on both ends of the building where the posts are going to go set for the beam that it's going to support. And now I can draw in those marks and make on the plate lines there, I can make that permanent on both ends. And after I make those permanent, then I can erase or Roll up those string lines, as you will. We'll use an eraser to erase those string lines. But those string lines, they go on indefinitely, all the way. You keep on going back, back, back further as far as you want. Um, but you just erase any part of the string lines and they completely disappear. Which I still have one string line. I don't understand why I haven't erased it yet. Making sure that I did this side properly, I guess. Some of the drawbacks with this computer is it's not a super fast computer, and when I'm running too much equipment on here, running my Sketchup on here and other programs, it makes it kind of laggy sometimes. Ooh, I need to put the audio for that rooster back on in here. Anyway, I grabbed the push and pull, and that way I can draw off the post. I can pull it up as high as I want, and I can establish the heights. I won't be getting into telling you how to establish the height of the lengths of the rafters or different stuff like that. If a person wants a video on that, well, um, I can show you how on here. But the real deal is to learn it in real life how to determine that with a framing square. And a speed square does help you cheat on some stuff, but a framing square is the most important tool. Now we're going to paint those posts to make them look like wood. And we'll rotate it so we can get all four sides. And rotate it one more time. Now there are a number of ways that a person can make it more productive. Drawing with SketchUp, like I said before in the past, I am an amateur at this. I know there's all sorts of shortcuts, and I'm slowly learning what those shortcuts are. So it takes me almost as much time to draw it as it would take me actually to build it. And yes, I could build this out of my head, but that wouldn't be no wintertime entertainment for me. At this point here, I am drawing the beam that's going to be sitting on there. Now, that's so cool about this here versus a building in real life. I can just draw a couple lines and boom, I got a beam. You know, it might be very extremely short, might be paper thin as far as the length, but hey, this gives me the tools to resolve that. Hit that push pull, and we'll stretch that beam on out. I'll paint it before I completely stretch it out because it's a lot easier to get all four sides. Well, actually six sides to paint it before I get it all stretched on out. And we'll rotate it again and get the other sides. And we'll even do the bottom part. Not that it matters. And there I finally erased that line that I don't know why I didn't erase earlier. Then we're going to pull this here on out. I'm looking for the push-pull button. And I'm just pulling that way beyond what I need for at this point. because it's just as easy to pull it back short to the beginning. But I am going to want on the front of the cabin the beam to be sticking out anyway. But that isn't being done permanently yet. Now that's the cool thing. Once you have the beam there, and I just pulled up that post. If you've seen what happened, I clicked on it and I was able to drag it right up to it, and I can bring the cursor off to the edge, but right in line, and it will drop it off automatically right to that point. Get that post all colored on in. Now at this point here, I was worried about the length of the beam sticking out far enough. It was totally unnecessary at this point. I'm kind of wasting time here with this. But in order to get to the exact measurement, I didn't know how far out I was past that post. So I bring it back to flush, and then I can pull it out my 8 feet that I'm planning on bringing it on out. Now I have that reading of what I can do to bring it out to exactly 8 feet. So if I bring it out long or short, just bring it to the desired point that you want, and then it will round it back to 0, and then you pull it out the additional footage that you want. Not that it matters at this point. Boy, this is some good coffee in this cup. Now I'd show you what I look like with my coffee cup here, sitting here, but I didn't put my makeup on this morning yet, so I just got up out of bed and started doing this. Part of this is here. I'm bringing it out to exactly 8 foot right there. Part of this first part, I believe I already did in the live stream, and this is that live stream. I just downloaded it, cut out the audio because I didn't want. I wanted to complete the deal. I only in the live stream I only did one half of the stack of this roof, and I wanted to get it up as all as one video. And second of all, I didn't want me chatting in the live stream as something for people to view for later. Not that I'm opposed to them viewing it in the live stream, but people that might want to watch and see how this is done, or out of boredom or something, they probably want to hear me saying hi to Junkyard or Noodles or Iron Dog or any of the guys on out there. I mean, hey, people are quirksome that way. Okay, now I'm drawing out the line for the rafters. Um, and I do want to point out a person needs to know basically what size rafters they're going to be using, and there are general rules of thumb. And the general rule of thumb for a beam is, and this is a very basic general rule of thumb, is the beam should be about 2 inches lower than the bottom of the rafter. Whatever the angle cut is, like if it's a 6 and 12 roof pitch, you put a 6 and 12 cut on the rafter. Whatever length that the angle cut is on the 6 and 12 rafter, you should be about 2 inches lower than that, roughly. That's just a very generic. There's many things that play into what size timber you should use for a ridge beam, though. Some cases you don't need a ridge beam. Just all depends on your design. But anyway, I'm bringing that line up from the seat cut, from the inside of the wall to get to the point where I want it to land on the beam. And I can erase that darkened in area, so I still got the line. And now we're going to draw the top edge of the 2x. I should cut out a little bit of this part here. Learning this here SketchUp, there's easier ways to be doing this. I should have started out just by coming right at the top edge, or not from the string line on up, right close to the beam, and then it's easier to plane in that string. But it's hard to sometimes get that string to show. Yeah, that's the quirks of the program. But there I got it. And it put it on the same plane as the line because I was pulling off of that line. So that's a pretty handy tool there. Now that's just the string line. That's not the pencil line. That's not the board yet. But it's equivalently 7.5, 7.25 tall. I didn't quite see what it was, but equivalent to a 2x8. So if I actually cut it a 2x8, it might be a little bit low on the beam, but it will be very adequate on here for this here. Then I draw my actual pencil line to make it a component. And if I bring it down there and draw it in that pink, it shows it as the plane of the previous. Now I told you about the red, blue, and green planes. There's that pink plane, and that's for represents the angle plane of it. Now I got to draw in here the seed cut. Okay, we got that seed cut drawn on in there. I can erase that part there. And I can just pull it over to thickness to make it into the rafter. So anyway, making this into a rafter now, well, you've seen how the painting goes, but you'll just see what I do with the rafter, with the pulling it over to make it to the thickness of a rafter. Get the push pull. Go over there and just pull it out. I'm making these 4x beams. So anyway, that's all to that part. Now I'm going to jump ahead and show the rotate. I'm not going to show the painting or anything else like that. We're going to jump ahead here now. Okay, there we have the rafter. And next of all, I am going to duplicate this rafter, and then I'm going to rotate one of those duplicates. And that way I'll have a rafter for each side. First of all, I had to make it a component, and then duplicate it. And then once you make a component, any changes that you make to the component, you have to go into edit component. So they'll always be the same, exactly the same as that one there. Yeah, I think first of all, I was just moving it out of the way over here before I duplicate it. At this point, I was going to draw the lines back on in for the template because it'd be really easy to add them. But I really don't need those lines for the template now. I do need the beam back in place, but I don't need the wall line template. See, I can bring that stuff right back to where it was. Now, why did I shrink that? Because when I go to copy and paste, to copy the rafter that was there, if I tried to copy it with it sitting on the template, it would copy that stuff too. So I have to pull everything out of the way before I copy it and create a component out of it. And by the way, this was earlier. Why earlier I didn't need to worry about the 8 foot because I had to do it all over again now to bring this out to exactly 8 foot. Which I think this time I just said 15/16 is close enough because it keeps on bouncing back and forth. Yep, good enough. Okay, now I could go ahead and delete the rest of that template, but I'm not doing it yet, am I? Or am I? Yep, don't need that no more. Okay, so there's my ridge beam and post ready to go up on the roof, and we'll go ahead and move that up on there now. Now my template was drawn right, everything was drawn right with the beam and everything, but my I'm making a component. Maybe I'm not moving it now. But where I laid it out to sit on the roof, up on top of the walls, I did not have that marked right. I was an inch and 3/4 off, but it was an easy enough correction to deal with. But fortunately, my rafters were right. My ridge beam was right. It just my layout was wrong. Yes, where I just set it out down at. I don't know how I got it off, but it was an inch and 3/4 off. And I don't think I'm sitting flush in the. Can't remember if I said flush there or not. Well, this isn't right. The other end would look like it appeared to be right, but this is another easy fix. Yeah, just got to go to edit component because I did create it as a component, so I can't push and pull to bring those things into place. And I had to remember where edit component is. So I'm going to skip this part right here. We'll jump ahead. Okay, I figured on out how to edit the component so I can fix this damage that I already done. And then my next problem was I had to remember how to get out of edit component. Some of us are slow learners. But anyway, enough of showing you the fixing this here. I'm going to jump ahead again. We'll get to them rafters. Okay, we got that all fixed on up, that beam and the post, and now it's time to duplicate the uh, the beams and get one rotated. So I got one for each side, or rather the rafters. There I just duplicated it, and next of all I got to rotate it. Now I did mess up on this rotate. I didn't get that line when I marked it exactly parallel. And so when I rotated 180 degrees, it actually only rotated like 179 degrees or 181. I don't remember which. But I did get this a little bit off just because of where I grabbed the uh, the rafter at. But it's still close enough. I mean, I've been a lot further off in regular framing. So now we have it rotated and ready to start dropping rafters up. And then I realized I haven't done my layout for where the rafters are. And to tell you what I planned on doing for my rafters, I was going to do a 32-inch layout because these are a 4x8 beams or rafters. So I don't need them super close together. And I plan on doing like a car decking type of a roof on it. Um, but when I laid it out for 32 inch, I thought it'd work out fine for the building, but it left the last layout at 4 foot. And if I had done one more 32-inch layout, that'd have put the last beam at 16 inches. So I ended up having to relay it out all over again and got it like it's like 34 and a half inches. So anyway, rather than showing you the screwed up layout, we're going to jump ahead and I'll show you me just laying the correct layout out for these rafters. Okay, with the miracle of time, I was able to erase a mistake that you guys didn't even see. The bad layout. Now let's go ahead and start laying out these rafters where they're going to go. And it's really simple. I only have to pull layout on one side, and I got that string line, the imitation line, whatever you want to call it, that goes on through, that marks the other side for me. Okay, Grizz, what's the hold up now? I'm not sure what the hold up is here. And I'm not sure if I should be jumping ahead and well, I am going to jump ahead and cut this part on out. Or maybe not. Because I started doing something here. Okay, there we go. Now I got to get the tape measure and we'll start pulling our layout. And it's going to be like 34 and a half or something like that. Now, don't be afraid to leave a comment. Make poking fun of my drawing skills or anything else. I welcome the constructive criticism, the bitter criticism, whatever type of criticism that you got. It's all welcome. And I am going to say this again. If any of y'all have something that you want built, short of I'm not going to draw a whole house on here for y'all, that'd be a whole different deal. But if you have a playhouse that you want to build for your daughter and you want somebody to draw you a set up a little set of prints or a playhouse or a fort for the kids, whatever it may be, give me a shout out, give me a holler. We'll we'll sit down, maybe in a live stream, maybe not, but we'll get together and chat a little bit, see what it is that you want drawn, and we'll make it happen. And I'm not doing this for money. I cannot receive money for any payments for this. This is a totally free program. I'm just offering that service just because I enjoy doing it, and it'll give me the opportunity to learn it better. Now, someday I might get the paid version where I could do it and charge other people. But the reality is, if I was to pay for a paid program now, I'm not good enough to hire myself out my services for something like this. So if you ask me to do something and I do it for free for you, hey, you're actually doing me a favor because then you're giving me experience. But you may want a tool shed in the backyard or a chicken coop or whatever it may be. No job too small. I will let you know the advantages to you is if you're not a carpenter and you go to build that roof and you're wondering, what are my lengths? What are my angles? How do I figure this on out? How do I bring it all together? By me drawing up on here, I can illustrate every step of the way of how you'll assemble it, how you'll cut it out, the lengths, the angles, everything. All you got to do is be able to read a tape measure and drive a nail. I need one more layout in there. Okay, well, that's enough of the layouts. We're going to jump ahead and start moving these rafters on in. Okay, we're going to grab this raptor here and got a copy. I hit copy on it so I can duplicate each one over and over and over again. Oops, I got to edit that and get that out of there. I don't know how that got in there, but we got to get rid of that. So I got to do the edit component. Oh boy, I didn't edit. I didn't get it out of there yet. Dummy me. But I do know that I do edit it on out of there. I think I hit undo this play. Undo move, and then I edit it on out. Sometimes it's good for y'all just to see what I have to go through, the mistakes that I put on myself. I could have probably edited it with the component being in place there, but I didn't want to gamble it. Make sure not one on the other side. Okay, and we're good to go. Hit copy. Now all I got to do is hit paste each time. Now that's one thing. If you want to set this down in an exact position, you have to, whatever point that you want to be in an exact place, you have to grab it by that exact point. So like I grabbed it by the exact point of the seat cut. That way I can set it right on the exact point of the outside edge of the wall. Now I looked at that there and it looked like it was fitting good and everything, but I'm at an angle. It did appear to be a little bit low, but I wasn't too worried about that. It appeared to be a little low, but I should have turned it and looked at it and I would have seen that it was 1 3/4 inches off. Not that it would have been any harder. It wouldn't have made it any easier for me to catch it now, but I would have noticed it now. And I wouldn't have felt so foolish. And got to drag that on over there so I grab it at the exact point. Then once you grab it at that exact point, it does make it easier to get grab it the next time because it has the AI in this thing. It helps you grab the points that it thinks that you're grabbing. It does help on that. Now, one of the difficult problems with this here, getting used to, is this is operating in all three-dimensional, but there's all sorts of optical illusions, and when you're trying to bring that on into where it goes, sometimes it's hard to get it at the right height level, get it, you're moving it and trying to get it right on top of that wall, but it looks like you're right there. Well, you rotate the page some, and you'll see you're 2, 3, 4 feet away from the wall. So it's kind of a you just got to be aware of stuff like that there, and you'll see that in a few times where I made that mistake. Now that you've seen me going through and stacking some of these other options on this side, let's kind of speed this on up, and we're going to jump ahead to the other side and get them on in. But let's fix that beam. I'll jump to the part where I catch the beam and show you that part next. Okay, this is where I catch that I am completely off with that beam. Look down through there and you can see that gap. Yeah, my layout was wrong. I'm still not sure how I got to be 1 3/4 inches off. I can see how because the beam's 6 inches. It's not a it's not a 3.5 inch beam. That might have said something, but anyway, we got to get this beam moved on over, and it's not too difficult to do. Now, first of all, I had to check. I believe I was checking it on out to make sure everything was right, trying to determine what the solution is. Yeah, I'm checking the measurements and seeing where this is where I find out that I'm 1 3/4 off. I measured on both sides. I kind of think that what the problem was is the building is 20 foot 3.5, and outside of the outside of the trim points, and I think I measured off that uh, center of 20 foot, which would be 10 feet, but that would put it off 3.5 inches. So I'm not sure exactly what happened, and it doesn't matter. All that matters is I screwed up. So now we just grab this and move it on over right to there. And that's all it took to fix the problem. Not a problem at all. And to check and verify now the peak is all coming in nice and flush and everything's working out perfect there. So we're ready to start stacking the other side of the roof. Looking it all on over. And we're back at it here. This is part two of the video, actually. Done a separate day. Get my recliner back more comfortable here. Okay, I'm going to grab these here and we're stacking the other side of the roof. Get the right angle so I can bring this right on in. Now, depending where the cursor is at, depends on what part of the screen is being magnified there. So I zoomed on into that point so I could grab it, back up, and use the wheel, scroll it on in, and I can zoom into the spot that I want where I'm taking it to. Now this here, I think this is where I start running into a little bit of the problems of not getting right on exactly where it's supposed to be. I did on that one there. It appears to be perfect. Copy, hit paste. I gotta get it on out there because it's not grabbing it in the same location. So I gotta let go and I gotta grab it each time individually. I'm sure there's a better way, and one of these days I'll have that figured on out. Now, if you're interested in getting Sketchup for yourself, just ask, and I'll drop a link in your comment. Uh, for getting Sketchup 2017. Um, and there's lots and lots of videos, tutorials on how to work it. So I'm not going to be doing any tutorials. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. Um, but there's some really good tutorials on how to use SketchUp on YouTube. So I won't be doing any of those type of videos. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. Zoom in so I can grab it the right location again. Sometimes it's hard just to get it right on that right point. I mean, you can tell when it locks in. When it finds that point, it locks in. But this one here, I'm having a problem with. And when you roll back, you can kind of tell it's not in the right place there. It's just not. It's not locking in where it's supposed to go. So it's just a matter of having a little bit of patience and working it. But see, I believe what the problem is right now is that rafter is probably 3, 4, 5 inches above the plate, and I'm having a hard time bringing it down, getting it on the plate, onto the plate. And I think that has something to do with the angle. I need to rotate it so I can get it onto that angle to get it right to the right plane. But you can see on the right hand side, the rafter is up high, and I didn't I didn't catch that until afterwards that I got it in the wrong place, and I'm surprised I'm not catching it yet. See, my seat cut is too wide on the plate. Both last two cuts, it's not going in good. So I got to go back in. I got to lower both those two. Come in at a little bit different angle. You can see I'm way up. Come on, move. It just takes a little bit of time to figure on out how to adjust, how to grab it, what I'm doing. Like I said, I need to swing this a little bit further to the right and tip it up a little bit on the front side, bring the front side up a little bit so I'm more on plane. See, that's still not right. You just slide it in about, yeah, there you go. Now we're getting it. There, just locked in. Did you see that last little jump? You can kind of tell when it locks in and finds it, and it will jump to that spot where you know you're trying to take it. But I still haven't fixed that other one back there. See, here again, I'm high. If I had been looking, I would know that it wasn't even close. But you can tell on the seat cut that seat cut was hanging on out way past, meaning that I'm not even on the plate because that seat cut should be the exact same width as the top plate that I'm setting it down on. Like that there. Now you can see the seat cut is fitting right on the top of the plate. I don't remember if I had noticed that that was off, and I figured I'd just come back to it because I was having too many problems with that one, or what the deal was. But either way, I do end up getting it dropped into place. Now I'm probably going to do like a car decking. Now what a car decking is for rough, it's car decking is basically they use it in a lot of horse stalls and stuff. It's basically 2x8 tongue and groove. It doesn't have chamfered edges. It's just square edges on it, but there's tongue and groove, so they interlock back and forth. They use it quite a bit on inside of horse stalls. So the horses don't hurt themselves. Um, and we used to back in the day use them quite a bit on framing houses instead of plywood. When you're using two by decking, that was a really good way to go with using car decking for the flooring. Then you put your subflooring over that, and then your carpet or linoleum or hardwood floors. But makes for a really good solid floor. I'm going to be using that on this roof for a couple of reasons. Um, it's a good sound deadener against the rain. We do get a lot of rain here, and when I'm in there, I don't want to hear a heavy pounding of rain on a thin metal roof above me. I like the sound of rain, but it can be overwhelming. The how loud it gets at times. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is I do plan on having a little wood stove in here, and I'm not going to insulate this building. That inch and a half thick wood on the roof will give it some kind of an insulation, to help keep it a little bit warmer inside there. I'm not looking at trying to make it super insulated or nothing, but it's something where it won't just drastically lose its heat loss rather too quickly. You need to rotate the building the other way. To the right, I said, not to the left. But there I was able to get it on the plane and then slide it out to where the notch is. Now, I think the one reason why I missed this one way back there is I do get tunnel vision in on this. So I might not even been looking at that when I was drawing it. I get tunnel vision. I get focused in on trying to each move, so I'm not even looking at the overall picture. But here again, it does not want to drop down there on it. I'll rotate a little bit. That's the way I think I needed to go. I'm going to get on top of the wall. There we go. And once I get it on the wall, then I can slide it down that line easier. It's still not right. I still see where the seat cut is not in the right place. Come on. See, it looked like it was so close, and then you rotate it, and you're so far. Sometimes it just goes like clockwork, and otherwise, other times you get that one that's stubborn. You just, why is it that it just won't do what you quite want it to do? Boom, and I felt it click that time. Now we got one more to put in on the very back. Now, when I say I'm going to be using card decking on here. I'm going to be using my version of my own card decking that I'll make myself. The card decking is typically um, tongue on one edge of the board, groove on the other edge. The card decking that I'm going to be making will be kind of inferior to that. Mine will have a groove on both sides of the board, 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch groove on both edges, and then I'll cut a 1x2, 3/4 inch thick by inch and a half wide. So I'll tap that in the groove on one side, then slam the next board on into it, and it'll go into the other groove on the other side. Um, the reason why I'll be doing it that way is it's a lot easier to do in a dado versus, creating the tongue is a little bit more work. And the other reason is, well, you cut a 2x8, and the 3/4 inch groove doesn't lose any width of the board, but when you make the tongue, you lose 3/4 inch of a width of the board. Whereas if you have a groove on both sides of the board, when you cut the board, if it's 8 inches wide, it's still 8 inches wide when you put a groove on both sides. So I'll get a little bit further spread of the boards that way. Now we got it on in, and we just got to put the post in the front. Well, and bring the beams out on the two sides. This is where I told you my when I did the rotate, I wasn't exactly 180. Somewhere I did spot that I was off a little bit. And that's what I was just checking with drawing that line through to see how much off it was. Oh no, that's not what I was doing there. I didn't notice that until a little bit later. No, what I'm doing here is I'm pulling it out from my so I can have my layout line. I had to have that line going through there, so I click it. You can't click right on the edge and then pull it. It would just put a mark on the beam itself every 34 inches. To have that line running through like a string line, you have to be in further on. You can't be right on the edge. You have to be midpoint of something. Now here I went and drew up that whole angle of the roof, the rafter length and everything, and I did not check to see what the roof pitch is. but it appears to be somewhere around a 3, which is adequate for our environment. And this is where when I did the rotate, I believe this is where when I did the rotate that I was off. It was just these front ones. When I go to the other side, I had already deleted the original component that I was doing on the other side. So I just copied the same component and flipped it on back. But when I flipped it back, I didn't get it right. Now this time I don't have the beam pulled on out where it's going to be sitting on the seat cuts. I pulled that on out afterwards. So I'm just pulling it, laying it off the ridge beam. Now if I had learned the short key strokes, the short, there's a deal where I could hit I think it's the central key, maybe central C is copy. I don't know, or and maybe central P is paste or something to that effect. I need to learn the shortcut stuff like that. I could speed up a lot of this. Yeah, we have that side down. Now we gotta get this other side in. That is one thing that I am going to have to look into. Now I told you that I can build up to a 400 square foot building structure on here, as long as the building is not over 10 feet tall, and that's midway point of the roof. I need to look on into whether I could even do this front porch on the front. I might not be able to do the front porch. I'm going to have to check on into that. If that's the case, no big deal if I can't have a front porch. Because, like I said, this is not something I'm going to be living in. Okay, now we got to rotate it. See if I can see where I got this off here when I did this. I think I don't know what's going on here. Rotate again. We'll try it again. I think I needed to be zooming in closer, though, as part of my problem. Well, you already knew I screwed up, but I believe it took me a little while to figure out how to get through this point here, what was going on. I'm going to jump you past the rotate part. Just 1 minute here. Okay, I think I'm at the right point here where I got the rotate. Now, if you look at the degrees, watch those degrees. And it might have been like when I clicked, it might have jumped a little bit. It's supposed to be 180. I couldn't quite tell. But I do know that it's off a little bit, but no big deal. We'll live with it. And erase that extra one. I don't need that anymore. Go back here, look underneath, and I gotta draw in the beam here. So we'll erase that line there. Measure over our 6 inches for the width of our beam. Which I didn't really need to do that. I had that line right underneath me. Draw that right there. Now I can stretch that on out. And it will already be all wood color, so I don't have to paint that. Again, the same thing here. And I gotta draw my 6 inches underneath. And now I can stretch the post down. Now on this side here, I think that's where I noticed that I'm off a little bit. Maybe not. I did notice that when I stretched it on out, it drew that one extra line on in there. But you can see on under the end of the beam, you see that white part of the cut on the seat cut. So I just went ahead. That's how much off it was. I went ahead and just stretched that on out to make it fit. I ain't going to crack that at this point. It wasn't very much. And that is pretty much it right there. So, guys, just remember if the girls don't find you handsome like me, they can find you handy like me. And if they don't find you handy like me, well, just pray that they find you. Y'all come back now, you hear? Bye. And stay tuned. Next episode, we'll be putting the car decking roof on.